Welcome to How We Did It, a podcast dedicated to dentists teaching dentists. This podcast is powered by eAssist Dental Solutions, the nation's leading platform for outsourced dental billing and other services. All of the guests are winners of eAssist's Top Practice Award, who share their experiences, best practices, and what sets them apart in their communities. Their opinions and recommendations are their own, and you should consult with your own professional advisors with respect to your own practice. Welcome everyone to today's episode of our How We Did It podcast featuring our Top Practice Award winners. I'm thrilled to introduce Dr. Cedric McDonald of Victory Dental Center. Thank you for joining me today and setting aside some time in your busy schedule to spend with me to talk about your practice.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we can jump right into the questions. I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and your practice and how you got to where you are today. So if you don't mind starting by telling me a little bit about yourself, what brought you into dentistry, and what your journey in the dental industry has looked like.
Okay. All right. Let's jump right in. Okay. So I've always wanted to be a dentist. I've had great dentists growing up. Being from a small town like Lancaster, South Carolina, we had some good role models there. So it was kind of easy to follow into the path of the people that came before me. And so what I used to do, I would, during my breaks from undergrad at Clemson University, I would come home and shadow at both offices because I had a couple mentors at both offices. And so I would just alternate and just kind of, any time I had, during the day, I would mentor. I would go there, work as a dental assistant, basically did whatever they needed me to do. And then at night I would work a part-time summer job. So they kind of kept me busy. But eventually, I went to dental school. I graduated in 2007 from Howard University, and then completed a one-year residency at UNC Chapel Hill. And from there, I worked 2 years at a public health dental facility in Greenville, South Carolina. And by that time I was ready to come out and open up my practice. So I've been a practice owner since 2010 in Indian Land, South Carolina, which is a suburb of Charlotte. And I've been an owner there for 13 years. So that's kind of been my journey thus far.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. I love how you started by saying you had some really great dentists growing up. So does that mean that you've always wanted to be a dentist?
Yes. It was, so the funny thing is, it was either going to be a dentist or an OB/GYN. Okay. And back then, since I'm a little older, it was more advantageous to be a dentist then because you really had banker's hours, and babies come when they want to. So I'm pretty sure, my hours would have been a little crazier then. But now the industry has changed so much that you can work a 9-to-5 office, but you're not going to maximize your business and your profits. And so I'm into maximizing my business and profits. So my hours are a little unorthodox, but I see the numbers paying off. So I'm cool with that. So said all that to say, I'm working harder than I thought I would have when I made that decision 20-something years ago.
Sure. All right. Well, you mentioned that you are from a small town. So how does your practice serve your surrounding community, and how do you differentiate yourself from other practices?
We serve in various, capacities. So, we are open, to everyone. So starting from me and my staff, we're a very diverse staff from all walks of life. From a hours of operation standpoint, we're open from 7 to 7 and on the weekends. And what differentiates my practice is that I actually do a lot of procedures that maybe some of my colleagues don't venture into. And that comes from a lot of continuing education, experience, and just doing some things to develop a niche for yourself.
Sure. That's awesome. So along the same lines of what differentiates yourself from other practices, what does a top practice mean to you? Obviously, eAssist is recognizing your practice as a top practice, and we want to honor that. But if you could speak a little bit to why you think your practice is a top practice.
I think it goes beyond just the financial, the balance sheet, right?
For sure.
So it starts with number one, having a vision. You have to see yourself successful, and you have to believe yourself as being successful, and being a successful practitioner, but believing that you're a successful practice. Because a lot of times we are our biggest detractors and biggest critics, and that's always a good sign to me, because it means that you're not satisfied where you are, and you're always looking to grow and evolve into something bigger and better, whatever that is to you. Secondly, I would think the staff would be a mirror of what a successful practice is. One of the biggest things I would say that, a lot of your patients are like, oh man, you're having a lot of staff changes, or, a lot of people, they weren't here last time. And I think that just speaks to how things used to be. I mean, from our parents' generation, they used to get one job and stay the whole time, but that's not the dynamic of our society right now. So that's been one of the biggest challenges. But if you have a good culture, establish a good culture, establish good systems, and let the people run the systems, that doesn't mean you're going to be bulletproof, but it's going to make sure that if someone decides to leave, that you'll be able to kind of recruit to the person and implement them into your practice, and keep the show going.
For sure. I think that's so important how you talked about just staying up with the fluctuating trends within the workforce and really having that solid culture to back your practice. That's awesome. So obviously we are partnered through eAssist, and eAssist helps the practice on the back end. I'm curious to know how having eAssist has impacted your practice and maybe even helped you to obtain the top practice that you speak of.
So I would say I actually have heard of eAssist before. But we pretty much had a good handle on, filing claims and things of that nature. But we had some things happen in late 2021 where it was to the point where it was like, okay, do you sit here and try to figure everything else out, try to comb through everything, or I can hire someone that does this all the time. Mm-hmm. And it probably took about a good 6 months for everything to kind of get to a smooth pathway, because they were just uncovering a whole bunch of things that just went unaddressed. Sure. And not followed up on. And I appreciate the reports, the consistency, the feedback, and the communication from eAssist. So it's been a good dynamic that's been unfolding. And let me give a shout out to Arnold and Nadine, because they were really great. And do not take them away from me. Do not promote them up anywhere. You could pay them more money, but don't take them away from me, okay?
Awesome. That's exactly what we love to hear. Thank you for sharing that. I will definitely get that message to them as well. Mm-hmm. All right. So this brings me to our final question for today. Mm-hmm. Being a provider that has an established office and a great culture, not only for your patients, but your team too. If you were having a conversation with a provider who was just coming out of dental school, who has fresh eyes into, where do I go from here? What would be your advice for implementing a practice of their own, or even taking it to that next level, a top practice?
What I'm seeing, a lot of the graduates that are coming out of school, they're not wanting to be practice owners. I would say it's a slim margin that do. And the ones that do, I think they're being told some things that are not really true. The expectations are set so high. You have professors telling you things in school like, hey, when you get out, you should do blah, 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 blah. But a lot of the times those professors are not working in private practice. They're working in an educational environment, and they're just looking at numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So, going through dental school, it's an experience in itself. And one of the biggest things you learn is good work ethic, especially, falling back on what we're talking about, having a transient workforce. You have to be able to pick up the pieces when everything is not ideal. And mostly every day, it's not going to be ideal. I don't care how good you think you are. Somebody's going to fall off the schedule or somebody's going to call out sick. I told my staff about a month ago, I said, listen, I will give you guys a bonus if we can get everyone to work 2 straight weeks without being out. And it hasn't happened yet. And it's not because they're just calling out. People get sick, things happen. So with that being said, you have to be able to operate amidst of chaos, even though you don't create the chaos. You have to be able to still have the focus in mind and be a great leader and tell everyone, say, hey, listen, you have to pull in the same direction regardless of what's going on. And if you can communicate that to your staff and even to your patients, they're understanding. And that would be my biggest advice, because a lot of them go to a lot of your corporations, and which are fine. They give them the security of the money, but after a while they don't stay there long because they're still feeling that void of, hey, I want to have my own ownership. I want to run things my way. And when you get on this side of it, it's a different ball game. You don't have the venture capitalist money behind you to just throw money at everything. Money doesn't solve all problems. So you have to get in and really dig in and make sure it's something you really want to do.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a really profound message about leadership that will resonate with our audience well.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And again, congratulations on that top practice award.
Thank you so much.
This podcast is sponsored by eAssist Dental Solutions, a platform dedicated to helping dentists get paid faster and get paid more. Dental insurance billing services provided through the eAssist platform can relieve your dental insurance headaches, get your over 90 insurance receivables near zero, and help you collect 100% of what you are rightfully owed by insurance companies. To learn more about how the eAssist platform can help your practice or to schedule a free consultation, please visit dentalbilling.com.